This knowledge clip will be about range shift of species. What is a range of species and what will cause it to shift? A species range is an area where a particular species is found. This is where the species is found during their lifetime. But the range also includes places they might migrate to. The size of the range is dependent on the species. For example, a large species like an elephant needs to walk a lot of kilometers to find food and water, meaning that the range is large. The range of a species is also dependent on climate. The climate determines where all species can live. All species alive have a niche. These are the conditions in which a species can survive and reproduce. Without a niche, there won't be any survival. The niche stands in close contact with the climate. For many species, temperature and humidity are important factors of climate. But as we know, the climate is changing. This is a fact on many species living on Earth. When species are faced with climate change, they have three options. They either adapt, move, or die. Adaptation isn't seen that often because the climate changes faster than most species can adapt to it. But if climate changes too fast, species can die and even go extinct. But luckily, extinction doesn't occur that often in response to climate change because species have the ability to move. If the primary habitat of a species doesn't meet their primary needs anymore, a species can be pushed to change their range, and that is what's called the range shift. Species can shift their range to track suitable climatic conditions to live in, and I will give a couple of examples of for different habitats and climates on how climate is affecting the range of species and why they need to shift. The oceans. In the oceans, the most severe impact of climate change is visible in the coral bleaching. When corals are exposed to high temperatures, they will expel their algae, leaving just a plain calcium carbonate skeleton behind. But corals live in shallow waters, meaning that those waters will warm quickly. To avoid this, they may move to deeper waters, but that will give problems because there won't be as much photosynthesis for the algae, so they will need to shift somewhere else. For freshwater, the range shift of species is much smaller. They shift for only like 10 meters on average. With temperature rising, cold adapted fish all over the world are experiencing death because they don't really have a place to avoid the rise in temperature. The sockeye salmon, for example, shows mass mortality in early migrates because the waters are too warm, meaning that their bird grounds need to be shifted to avoid further mass mortality. The Arctic is particularly hit hard because of the rising temperatures, sea ice is melting, and a lot of species are dependent on the sea ice. So their habitat is decreasing very rapidly. For example, the polar bear needs the sea ice to hunt, but the Arctic fox as well. And if they need to shift their range, they will find competition with other fox species that are already better adapted to that area. So this is always beneficial for species to shift at all. In the temperate areas, species tend to shift their range more poleward to move to colder areas. Lots of animals react to climate change in this area. In butterflies, there are 35 species in Europe and 22 species shifted northward between 35 and 240 kilometers. Studies show that range shift can be caused only by climate change, but also by species interactions. The range shift in species is one of the best studies and best understood biological impacts driven by climate change. Range shifts show that the natural world is responding to climate change, and shows that this can be used as evidence to show the world that the global climate is changing and that lots and lots of species need to adapt to this in order to survive.